Welcome to the LivBtr podcast. I'm Erica Spiegelman, addiction and wellness specialist and author, and along with me, I have my co-host, Jay Siano, a New York-based serial entrepreneur, business scaling expert, and wellness aficionado. We are here to inspire, encourage growth, and most importantly, to live better. Welcome to the LivBtr podcast. Our guest today is Greg Scheinman. Greg is the creator of the Midlife Male, a weekly newsletter and podcast designed to help men navigate and maximize middle age to achieve a better quality of life. One of the top-rated midlife podcasts, it features CEOs, athletes, authors, chefs, coaches, entrepreneurs, celebrities, and high-profile people. Greg is also the author of the Midlife Male, a no-bullshit guide to helping you live better, longer, happier, healthier, and stronger, and having more fun in your 40s and 50s. We can't wait to get Greg on the show and talk to him. Welcome to the LivBtr podcast. I'm Erica Spiegelman, an addiction and wellness specialist and author. And along with me, I have Jay Siano, a New York-based serial entrepreneur, business scaling expert, and wellness aficionado. We're here to inspire, encourage growth, and most importantly, to live better.
Greg, welcome to the LivBtr podcast. Let's dive right in. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and the 6 Fs?
I'm happy to. I almost feel like after those intros, I should just leave. Like, you can't get better than, right? Like, you can only go down from here, right? Thank you for that.
We need more details. Yeah.
This is great. It's a pleasure to be with both of you. The 6 Fs, guys, really came as kind of a redefining metric for success. You know, what happened was, I think for most guys, myself included, well, you know a little bit of the story, and for the people out there, I grew up on the North Shore of Long Island. I grew up very, if you will, wealthy, privileged, really, as we were saying, nowhere to go but down, kind of, and you don't realize that, I think, until later in life when you start to experience some adversity. Whether that's, financial struggle or what it's like to actually earn, a living or achieve the lifestyle that you were used to growing up. In my case, it was also loss, loss of my father, who was the provider and the earner at 47, which was midlife. And I always viewed what success was you were chasing salary and title. Like, that's what success meant, especially as a man.
Sure.
And that was kind of what I was going after. And what I learned over time, a long period of time, as a slow learner and a late bloomer, I would say, is that that's not really what success, looks like. And it certainly wasn't really what success felt like to me, once I had it to an extent. So I had this guy, Billy Mann, this amazing Grammy-winning songwriter, producer. He works with Pink and John Legend, and just incredible artists. And I was fortunate enough to have Billy on the podcast, one of the very early episodes of the podcast. He happens to be married to an old friend of mine. And Billy dropped this gem on me that he started to redefine success. And instead of chasing the hit song, chase the hit life.
Sure. And that's in your book. And that's another plug for the book, by the way, which I absolutely love.
Thank you. So that just landed so hard with me, and it became, well, what's really important to me? Salary and title versus what became the 6 Fs was family, fitness, finance, food, fashion, and fun. And I just started writing down what was important to me. Family first. I have a beautiful wife, 2 amazing boys, fitness, which is really health, really about life wellness. Beyond that, finance, which is back to, how much do you really need? How much is enough to do what you want, when you want, with who you want? That's really what we're talking about. Food is really nutrition, and what you put in your body and how that makes you feel. People get hung up on these last two also, like fashion and fun. Fashion is really about confidence, personal style. Like, I was living and even dressing in a very kind of inauthentic way for a long period of time. Look like $1 million in the suit and the other stuff, but if it doesn't really feel like you, right? It was really about personal brand and confidence. And then fun, you kicked it off at the beginning when you were saying, like, let's just have a good time with this conversation and do this. we're not having enough fun. And then really, like, if it's not fun, then like I'm done. Like, what are we here for if we're not having fun in the things that we do? And we wavered on that one for a really long time. I did, whether it felt juvenile, or how that works. And quite frankly, it's become one of the most prevalent topics I speak and work and coach with men on. And it's like, what is fun? The right kind or the wrong kind, and
Right.
what does that look like in life? So that's how we got to the 6 Fs.
Mm-hmm. I have a question.
Real quickly before you jump in, Erica, I based on everything you just said, Greg, and we're getting to know each other a lot better. I feel like you just basically gave my background, which is so bizarre. Losing a parent, very similar age, so on and so forth. So if I feel that way, there has to be so many other people out there, both male and female, that feel that way. But Erica's the professional in the space, so I can't wait for her to dive in here. Go ahead, Erica.
No, I'm curious of, from the point of view of being midlife, or, what we could call that or label that. I think, I'm 43 years old. In your 40s, especially after you have a family, and I have 2 little kids, like, you start to feel like, wow, I had so many possibilities when I was younger. I had endless dreams, and there was so many paths my life could go. And then I chose this life. I wanted kids, I wanted a family, I wanted to have this kind of life. But then once you arrive at it, it's almost like, it's not a crisis per se, but it's like realizing, wow, like, now I am in my 40s. I've gotten these wonderful gifts and blessings. And now what, And so how do we begin to normalize this for people if they are feeling in this way and don't want to make it into something that's like a crisis, but yet reframe it and create a different outlook on it? Let's revitalize our lives, or let's revisit, how we see ourselves, and that we're not just stuck. Because I hear this from women, like, so many moms feel just kind of like the monotony of the day. They're stuck in these habits with the kids, and, and I think a lot of us feel uninspired. So how do we begin to let's say, kind of create a new conversation around this?
Yeah, it's so good. And I think while I speak predominantly and work with men in midlife, statistics and everything that you're describing are the same for women.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't think it's specifically related to a particular age. I also kind of put this in order. Like, I know some really old 30-year-olds. I know some really young 60-year-olds.
Right.
Everything you're describing for also women and men, it happens, very similarly. Maybe our responsibilities, obligations, routines, habits that you're describing are different and very individual, but the same conformity, the same complacency, the same redundancy, the same challenges and questions exist in who we are. So the way I approach it, and you mentioned this word, you mentioned the word, choose. Like, I chose this, and this is all a choice.
Right.
All the time. Like, this is all about making better choices the majority of the time.
Yeah.
The better choices you make, the more consistently, the better ultimately you'll be living your life. We're faced with choices constantly. But to reframe it, and you said, or redefine it, say, what if instead of viewing aging as something to fear, I started to view it as something aspirational? I genuinely see midlife not so much about this period of even reinventing ourselves, but this period where we accept and allow to release ourselves into who we really want to be, and take all of these experiences that we've had leading up to this period, and we have so much more to go on. Can we apply all that we've lived and all that we've learned to see our better days in front of us, not behind us? I think it's a mindset shift. Really is what it is, and if you can change your mindset, you genuinely can change your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of the even the inspiration behind this collective, that Eric and I have created here has been a lot of our peers are kind of living up to that term midlife crisis in a way where they are acting as if they've peaked and now they're just doing things and continuing to go through the motions as older college kids. Like, it's weird to say. And I just, It just kind of came out of my mouth. I haven't really put much thought into that. But the reality is that, a lot of people that I know really, really well, their behaviors haven't changed that much regardless of where they are. And it also has forced them to take on this belief that they're, not necessarily, the better days are not necessarily ahead. And it's almost like they're throwing in the towel on some level, as opposed to what Eric and I have talked about is I've never felt better. I feel like I finally am so comfortable in my own skin, where there should be a word that's super common that comes into the dash after the word midlife that is not crisis. Because I'm sure if you ask 10 people, what's the first word that you think of after you hear midlife? And 10 of them are going to say crisis, or maybe 7. I don't know.
It's so like that's literally what I do. When I do, when I'm engaging with audiences certain times, or we're doing workshops, whether this is with couples or whether this is with men individually, I mean, you really can do that word association. And I have, like, when I say midlife, what do you say? And yeah, absolutely right. Crisis, okay, is the dominating follow-up word to midlife. I would offer, opportunity. I would offer, again, just from a mindset and a perspective shift. Yeah, word crisis is a polarizing, traumatizing, paralyzing word right there. Yeah. When we start getting into opportunity and possibility and probability, and growth versus closed mindset, we really open up so much bandwidth to do some tremendous things. And we have so much more runway now, Erica, and too. Yeah, that we have this opportunity to live healthier and longer and stronger and on this, that I don't even know where the middle necessarily is, anymore.
Greg, it sounds like too, it's this shift in mindset of like abundance. Like we could see this as an abundant part of life, our blessings, like, anything that falls under like loving thoughts, versus fearful thoughts and scarcity thoughts and things like that, which is, I think, the goal for everybody is to kind of shift our mindset to see, like, life is working out for us, and what, and focusing on like, having these gratitude practices and changing our thought habits. And that's a lot of work I do, is the rewiring and cognitive thoughts, and how even, I'm an addiction specialist, but even if people could change how they view, their thought habits and their narratives, and changing all of that, that's really where I see internal shifts start to happen. So it's, it's really important if people are kind of struggling, I think, is to give them a little, if you could, how to begin to change, their mindset every day, or their old narratives around aging, around all of this,
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think it's this interesting combination of both. Look, I am not a therapist. I am not a specialist. I am a normal, if you will, messed up 50-year-old guy. And I really take it from, I try to take a very, as I said, as the book even says, like, a no BS, like straight down the middle, talk to me like I'm a golden retriever, because that's the way I'm going to figure this shit out. And it's really, and I love that you talk about the how, because I think that one other thing that has gotten lost here, and then I put it at the top of a lot of my messaging, is enough with the why. Okay, let's focus on the how. There's so much talk about find your why and find it. I get fucking, sorry, can I say it? I get fucking why you want to be a better husband, you want to be a better father, you want to be in better shape, you want to, meet the hotter woman, you want to, I get all of those, the why. That's not so out there. The question is how, how are you going to do those things? What steps are you going to take? And if you look at the first, there are 2 ways to do this that I see. The simplest one that I've come up with is better 1 or better 2. And I use this with all of my clients. I don't know how your eyesight is, but my eyesight was really shitty growing up. Contacts, glasses, AccuViews, like I maxed that out. But you would go to the eye doctor, and this is one I use, and they would put these lenses in front of your face, and I'll start flipping them around and go better 1 or better 2. And you would keep going through this exercise. And at the end of this, what happens? You have clarity. You can see clearly. You have a prescription that is going to help you, that helps you to see and to live. And I use this, and I ask these with any choice all day long. Should I work out today or not work out today? Better one or better two? Should I kiss my wife goodbye in the morning or ignore her, and roll out of bed on the other side? Better one or better two? Do I go to my kid's basketball game or do I think there'll be plenty more? Better. And you can do this exercise with anything and everything in your life.
I love it.
Without thinking about the outcome, we fixate on the outcome, which is that why I want to be in better shape. And I would offer fixate on the action over the outcome. If you start making better choices, 50, 60%, 70%, the math doesn't lie.
Yeah.
You're going to get to the desired outcome. You're going to be the better husband. You're going to be the better father. Go from 20% attendance at your kid's game to 80%. Trust me, you're going to feel like a better man.
Yeah.
Work out every 5 days a week, versus 0. You're going to be in better shape. These things happen by design, not by default. That's all on the how.
Yeah. I love it. Love it.
It's fascinating.
Truthful. Yeah.
It's very truthful. Erica, you and I have been talking about obviously how important the how is, because sometimes, Greg, being a overweight kid, growing up the way that I did, and then willing my way into, being more fit, being better looking, like putting every area of my life together in a very meaningful way, it's come to a point where I have just my non-negotiables where come hell or high water, I am checking these boxes every single day so long as I'm alive, right? Yeah. So Erica says to me, yeah, but that a lot of people that I work with and just in general can't just have that much discipline to check those boxes every single day. And it's not as easy as you might think it is. I struggle with that because I feel like, when you see the positive results and the ripple effect, Greg, when you mentioned getting up, giving your wife a kiss, before you leave the house, doing all of those things that are going to have a positive, better one impact than a better two impact. It sounds so easy, but we all, I think, struggle with this. Not necessarily, everybody's struggle is different in the different areas of your life. And what I try to do is fill up every bucket every day, which is a very different mindset than myself 5 years ago. The business bucket, was always overflowing, but the family bucket was suffering as a result of that, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I think it's interesting. We all hear things differently and we're wired differently and we react differently. I hear, that you try to fill up every bucket every day and I go, whoa, okay? Like, that sounds like a lot. Like, that sounds like, how am I going to fill up every bucket, every day? That sounds to me like I would be setting myself up for failure rather than success.
Sure.
I'd offer, again, for me, as a simpleton, as a guy who only has a certain amount of bandwidth, if you will, how many buckets can I fill up in a day? What does my bandwidth allow me to do?
Right.
And in that regard, that's part of the system, creating and developing your personal operating system that works for you.
Right.
And over, the period of a few years, 200 plus interviews and conversations with other guys like this, I've now backed in to, a 5-step system that I utilize and I think anybody else can use, so we understand what our buckets are. We understand what our metric of success is. We understand what our bandwidth is, and you get back into your how. And I look at it as, okay, number one, knowing what's important is what's most important. You've got to identify what your priorities are.
Right.
No, your non-negotiables, as you said. Number two, if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. The majority of guys, we're just rudderless, out there. As you said, going through the motions. You've got to actually have a map, okay, of where you're trying to go. The third one, you talk about all the buckets and fill. I call this aggregate, curate, eliminate. This is ACE. You can take all this stuff that's constantly flying at us, but curate it down to what works for you and then eliminate all the stuff that doesn't. Then it goes to the calendar. I live on the calendar. Show me your calendar. I'll show you your priorities. Okay.
Yeah.
Ask any minute of any day, open it up, show me. And you should be able to know exactly what's most important to me, what's in my life, where I'm going. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And now it's quantifiable. And then the last one is grace, gratitude, and latitude, because we are way too hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
Things like I hear filling every bucket and I immediately get scared. I think I'm a failure on there. So be kind to ourselves. And I've got it. 3 personal, 3 professional things each day, no more, no less, until these get done. Nothing on the other side of the column. Get in there. But I just love that, working the process and the how with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to say, when you were talking before, there's a lot about mindfulness here too. It's just when my husband and I have this conversation, is for me, right, we all need our tanks filled up in terms of love in different ways, right? The 5 love languages, we know about that book and that theory. And so I'll say to him, give me a kiss goodbye. That means a lot to me, more than, you showing me through acts of service. Hey, honey, I put out the garbage. To me, say goodbye, that means more important, right? But it's really about everybody operating differently, and also having communication and conversation in terms of our interpersonal relationships, about saying and communicating, hey, this is what I need. And then going the extra step of being mindful, being mindful not only for yourself, but for the people around you. I think that's important too. Like you said, it's just give yourself a pat on the back if you're having these conversations about just even being aware, because a lot of people are living so unaware that, oh, I didn't know my wife really cared so much about that, right? Because no one wants to talk about it, or it's easier to harbor resentment versus, right, having loving conversations for whatever reason.
You want to know how somebody's thinking, it's ask. It's kind of like one of those, start asking questions, and otherwise, you make a lot of assumptions, you make a lot of judgments. Those things can happen. We're not supposed to. One of the things I even hear most, from guys that come in, and what's interesting also, Eric, is 40% of the inquiries that I get are from women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
I focus specifically on men as it pertains to my coaching and most of the posting and things that I write. Okay,
right.
40% of the inquiries I get are from women. Women want their brothers, their husbands, okay, their partners, their spouses, their colleagues, their ex-husbands that they're still co-parenting with. They want them to be better. Mm-hmm. So how can they become better or live better, as your title is? And they're asking these questions. The guys, when they come to me, okay, it's, if I do this, what am I going to have to do for her? I got to ask for forgiveness, and I got to ask for permission, and it's a quid pro quo in their head. And it becomes this kind of struggle where, what if instead of asking for forgiveness and permission, you actually asked for support? And I actually told you that the women that are coming to me are already 100% supportive. Mm-hmm. And you guys are just not seeing it the same way.
It's interesting. When you boil it down that way, though, again, a lot of these things seem maybe easier said than done. And for me, like my old self, before I actually really truly started looking within and understanding my weaknesses and working on them and being accountable instead of drinking more to numb myself to kind of stay in that vicious cycle. I was very much doing that for a long period of time in my life, where the communication between my wife and I, if I was going on a business trip, there was tension between us because she knew that I'd be entertaining clients and drinking and so on and so forth. And I always thought that was such a ridiculous concern of hers. But I could see now that I'm not the same Jay, that I show up differently. And I'm really, when I'm doing business, I'm about the business. Do I have fun? Do I hang out with my team? Do I entertain clients? Yes, but it's in a very different way than I used to. And I think that it's really, it's not necessarily an easy thing to do, which is why when I talk about my peer group being older college kids that are kind of doing the same behavior and so on and so forth, if there's tension in their marriage, they don't want to accept responsibility for any of it. It's like, oh, she's annoying. She doesn't let me do this.
Against the other versus you're on the same team looking at the problem, right? It's like, me against you versus how about me and you against the problem? Like, let's get on the same team, but right?
Yeah, you have to show up and do the hard work. Like, but that's like the theme of everything you're saying, Greg. It's like, yeah, when I said that I try to fill up all my buckets, I know for a fact I'm not filling every bucket every day equally, but I'm trying to fill up all my buckets.
Sure. And I mean, that's what I also call it. Look, this is about turning your F's into A's. Okay.
That.
Now, that doesn't mean you need to be a straight A student to be successful.
Yeah.
That what we're really talking about here is a cumulative GPA of your life. And at certain stages of your life, at certain times, different areas and aspects take different levels of importance. Young kids, older kids, we're a couple of years away from being empty nesters. The time period where you might be hustling and grinding a little bit more because you need to. There's another time period you might be able to focus a little bit more on your health and getting that back, because now maybe you're not commuting to the city every day and staying out until 9. I mean, all of these things are a ratio, but as you said, what you're looking for is, I don't love the word balance, but you're looking for harmony, in these buckets, or in trying to turn our F's into A's. You're looking for a lifestyle that is ingrained, that is harmonious, that is in alignment. We are a team as a couple. We're not, one against the other. It should be us, out there living our lives holistically and chasing on, total life wellness. But you've said this now twice about it sounds easy, but it's hard. I say that they are. Every one of these concepts is simple. Or frankly, the actions are simple. But simple is really, really hard. And which is why most don't do it, It's actually back into the how, it's into the action. Nothing is complicated about the action, or it is, can I actually take it? What's hard is, can I take it? And can I do it again? And this fear of either trying, or fear of starting, or waiting until it's the perfect time or the right time, or I'm not going to make any other new friends, or I've been doing it this way for so long.
Change is hard. Yeah.
It's scary. Aging is scary. Okay. Midlife is a crisis. All of these things are out there, these stereotypes, these cliches, to stop us. And that's where the majority's hanging out. It's another reason it seems so fearful and scary and everything, because it seems like you are the outlier.
Yeah.
If you do this, you venture in this direction. I'd also offer that not only are you not the outlier, but while you may not be in the majority either, there are so many people out there. Anything and everything you want is possible. You just have to be willing to go find it. If you don't want to entertain clients at night and be drinking and doing that, I guarantee you, when you go to the next real estate conference or insurance conference like I used to, go to the gym in the Wynn, okay, at 6 a.m., and who are you going to see?
Yeah.
You're going to see 20 multi-millionaire insurance brokers that care about their health.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the reality, though, Greg,
other millionaire guys that are out at night too. I'm just saying they both exist. I'm not.
Yeah, but the fun, you're absolutely right. And anytime I'm in Vegas, I'm at the Wynn gym at 6 a.m. because it's 9 a.m. It's actually super late for me anyway. But the point is, yes, but the reality is half of the super high performer, successful men and women that are in that gym are coming off of drinking 10 tequilas the night before anyway.
Maybe.
Because so many of the successful people that I know do all of the above, so to speak, and are not necessarily focusing on how can I really be a better person today than I was yesterday. And I think if you're at a certain level of success, you almost feel like you have a free pass, and you're not necessarily, you're doing the healthy thing to counteract.
Yeah, you got to hold yourself accountable. I agree. Yeah, they're both,
Yeah, there's consequences at some point. We were talking about this yesterday with Jay. It's like, yeah, it may be like when people, I'll have my clients say to me, well, but I'm successful. So, right, I give myself that excuse, well, I'm doing great. But then I say to them, where are the other negative consequences in your life? Like, let's start looking within. Like, are your relationships suffering? Is your relationship with your kids suffering? Do you feel like your brain is not even functioning that well? How are you emotionally?
This conversation, are you happy?
Why are we even right? And They're
having
the
that conversation for a reason, because you're successful by all societal metrics and everything else.
Right.
But guess what? You're calling me up to pay me $5,000 a month because you're unhappy.
Right.
You're not having the kind of fun you want to have. Okay.
Right.
You got
Figure it
the house,
out.
you got the cars, you got the kids, you got everything. But guess what? You don't want to have 10 tequilas at night and be in the gym. Like, I've done this too. Like, it took me 5 years to turn over almost my entire client list, okay, in my last business, from, again, chasing premium commissions dollars, okay, taking guys to concerts and being out late and drinking and doing it, to switching it up to meeting people for workouts and smoothies and getting into different industries where people lived very, very different lives. And I'll tell you, it's all green. Okay.
Yeah. You feel better in your heart.
$1 million account. Like, the lifestyle was completely different. So, it wasn't sustainable for me to do both. What you described, Jay, I've been there. Like, it wasn't sustainable for me to live the double life.
No, I'll take it a step further. Like, for me, the younger version of myself defined success as I can go out to any restaurant, nightclub, drink as much as possible and party with, successful people that want to do that, land business as a result of that, like, so extreme to where now I have zero interest in doing that. I don't care what the opportunity is. I'm not going to necessarily do things that I don't feel comfortable with or really want to do myself. And that doesn't mean, by the way, that in my businesses, everybody's like me, right? So there's people that would be more than happy to go out and entertain people who want to do that for fun. But I just find it interesting as we enter middle age, right? Like, I lost my mom when she was in her early 50s. You lost your dad at 47. I'm 46. I don't even think of myself as old. I can't even, when we say midlife, I have a tough time grasping that I'm in midlife, right? Like, am I the only one?
Yeah. No, but to each their own. But I do think too, like, there's something about, raising the awareness around restoring and rest and, relaxing your nervous system. I mean, this is where disease is, I mean, if you go long enough, your body is in a dis-ease. It's not at ease. There is no rest. There is no respect of sleep and, rejuvenation. And, like, this really helps us, in terms of wellness, when we can begin to be aware of all that and how it attributes to our overall health, right? If we're running both ends all the time, there's gonna be a moment where there's gonna be a consequence, eventually, whether it's emotionally.
You go to 0 to 100, you're gonna blow the engine. You go 100 to 0, you're going to fry the brakes. What we're really talking about here is rhythm and cadence again, and harmony. And there's been there's so many amazing opportunities again in what you were talking about: hyper wellness, restoration, longevity. Again, replacing other habits, old or maybe negative habits or former things with newer ones, things that again make you feel better and happier and stronger. That might be scary a little bit at the beginning. We really struggle with how to turn it off or turn it down.
Yeah.
Again, we live in these high pressure environments where, the hustle and the grind and the 24/7 and I'll sleep when I'm dead, like, that seems pretty sexy when they put it out there, and you wake up Monday morning and everyone slams you with the Monday motivation. And if you're not winning the day and attacking your routine and it's so overwhelming and it's so daunting that I think the emphasis, if you will, should be on a lot of what you were just talking about, Erica. It's like, where do we step back? Where do we build in the open space? Where do we build in the restorative, recuperative counts? And if any of these words, whether it's, mindfulness, like the words that get even scary to men, like, oh, I don't want to meditate. I want to be like mindful. And I don't need, I was bitching to Kate the other day that I went to a yoga class and the first 12 minutes was like some story from the yoga teacher. Like, I'm not here for that. I don't want your like chakra and the thing. And I know you're a new mom, like I'm an old dad. Like at this point, I just want I want to sweat and I want to stretch. I don't need to snort. In there. So we sometimes also have to put it, really in context that is, going to get through going, look, I do, box breathing. It's like I'm not great at quote unquote meditating for so what? But
That helps.
I rock box breathing because I'm like, oh well, if the Navy SEALs can do it, like great. Like I gravitate more towards that than sitting down and going, and let me breathe and meditate. You just gotta find again what works, for you. Easing it, like smoothies and saunas and cold immersion has taken the place of tequila and late night dinners and lack of sleep. And you're just over time back to the beginning, one or two. What feels better?
Right.
Getting a good night's sleep, waking up, getting a little cold rush going on, feeling energized, exercise, or, getting a shitty night's sleep, waking up hungover, okay, already feeling like you're behind the 8 ball. Better one or better two?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You have so many great tidbits of just wisdom and relatability. And, I just so appreciate you coming on and being with us.
No, this is so much fun. I mean, and you guys are doing such great stuff that it's not surprising. Like to people out there that, again, like you start living a certain way, you start changing certain things, you start operating a certain way, and all of a sudden opportunities, new people, things start to present themselves. I have a client of mine said this to me and I stole it from him. I'm keeping it. It was like, you get the client you deserve. Like, I think it's so true.
Yeah, that is
client. I think we get the partners we deserve. We get the friends, we deserve. If you live and lead by example and be you.
Yeah, I think that, when you tie all of those things together, the compound effect and the momentum that you get as a result of really, again, doing the hard things and staying on track and it becomes tough to do anything else. Like that's been my experience, right? So I kind of gradually became maniacal about the things that I do now. And now I could never even think about going the opposite direction because breaking that momentum is actually, it's like, my day falls apart if I don't do the things that I'm used to doing. If I'm traveling and I, am not able to really do the things that I expect to do, to have the energy I need to go out and do what I do, it affects everything for me. It really does.
It's all connected. I will also say, like, it's all connected. There's no separation between these things.
Yeah.
They are all connected. How you operate, how you perform, what you put on your body, what you put in your body, all how you spend your time, who you spend it with, personal, professional, it's all connected. My buddy Cody has to say, he goes, this is who I am, so this is what I do. Like,
It's true.
Exactly. It's like, it's exact. It is not a surprise. Okay. Yeah. It is not a surprise. Okay. Where I'm going to be at Tuesdays at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm there every Tuesday. If I'm on the road, guess what? I get it as close to what my Tuesday at home would look like, wherever else I am. Taking the same things with me. So on, you get back into habits, routine, who you are, your operating system. None of this stuff is surprising. What would be a surprise, okay? Not to see me there.
Yeah. Right.
Well, walking down the street smoking a cigarette, to see me in a bar at night. Like these things would be surprising at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
But your identity is shifted. So I talk about this all the time. When I changed my life at 28 years old, stopped drinking. I haven't drank in 15 years, but my identity shifted. Like I saw myself as something when I was in college versus who I was when I changed my life. I saw myself as a healthy woman, and I will never forget the one day I started running when I got healthier, and I'd never run a day in my life before I changed my life. And I started running in this neighborhood I live in every single morning, the same 4-mile loop. And someone at the front of the coffee shop said to me, "Oh, you're the runner girl." And I almost started crying because I had never been called anything around healthy, a runner. I'm a runner now. Like, wow, because that's what I do. I get up, I run. Now I'm a runner, right? Every night, if I go to a bar and drink and smoke, I'm a smoker, I'm a drinker, right? So it's so powerful though, when we can begin to shift the language too in our minds about how we see ourselves, and be proud of yourself and begin to say like, I'm a healthy man, or I'm choosing a healthy path, or, all these little things really, I think, help. And it just helped me tremendously to begin to see myself differently that way.
And it's one day at a time.
Yeah.
Just start. It's not only possible, but it's probable to change. It is never too late. Perfect is the enemy of good. We can go down this list. I love it when guys, or people say to me, they're like, but I'm not, I'm not consistent. Or I can. It's like, here's the deal. We are all consistent.
Yeah.
You're either consistently making poor choices, you're consistently making the right ones.
Yeah.
We're all very, very consistent. We just have to determine where you want to apply that consistency.
Love it.
Now, we're not all motivated all the time. You can send me 5,000 motivational quotes, okay? And it's going to fall right on the ground, or it may light me up for 5 minutes. Now, can we all be disciplined? Can we determine what consistency looks like? Can we determine what real discipline looks like?
Mm-hmm.
Can we put a back seat on all this motivation, there, and this kind of improper at self-analysis and self-doubt that we can't be consistent again? Oh, I am consistent. I really am consistent. And by the way, I'm disciplined too, okay? I just have to reallocate it back to your buckets and pie chart, and where is it going to go? And back to not going 0 to 100 or 100 to 0. You didn't become the girl, who runs on the first day you ran.
No. Right.
You became the girl who runs by the girl in the coffee shop, seeing you whatever it is every day, day after day.
Right.
And I know
that's a profound. Yeah, that's a profound concept, and I've used that running example, because ultimately the way that you define yourself, right? Like, I used to look at runners, Erica, and that's why it really resonates with me. I used to look at them and admire them and be like, I wish I could be like that, right? Now I'm the person, doing CrossFit in my driveway or somebody's driveway on vacation, right? Which I never was. I was never that guy. And you know what? I think the most important message is that if you want to become something, you absolutely can, so long as you put in the work and you're consistent with it. And then when other people that you've never met before start to call you that, it feels really good because you're proud of the hard work and the dedication that you have to that, where all of a sudden you're not the only person defining yourself that way. The world is.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Amen. Amen. Yeah. Amazing. Well, Greg, thank you for being with us. Can you tell our audience where everybody can find you if they want to get a hold of your book, and give us a little info on you? So,
yeah, appreciate that very much. Not hard to find at all. So you can go to midlifemale.com. So pretty much everything is there. You can subscribe to the weekly newsletter. You can subscribe to the podcast. You can download even my free, no BS guide. There's tons of content materials there. Information even on my coaching program, and a link to even buy the actual Midlife Male book. I hang out over on LinkedIn because that's where a lot of the midlife community also hangs out at overall. So I'm at LinkedIn a lot, and at Greg Scheinman on Instagram. I spend a lot of time there watching the both of you as well.
I'm watching you now. Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. I love all the content. Fabulous.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome, and anything I can do to support you both and living better and what you're up to, I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. So great.
Really appreciate you joining us today, Greg. Thank you.
Till we talk to you next time, let's choose to live better.